I'll call this community service meeting to order. Leo, would you give the invocation, please?
Lord, I want to publicly thank you for allowing me to return to this job that I love so much. Lord, all these council people helped me so much during this, and I'm so proud that I work with them. We have a good council. We may differ, but we care. Everybody wants the best for the Cherokee Nation. I'm so excited about the administration and what all we're going to do this year. And it's going to be a great year. Help us make the right decisions. Let's have a great holiday, and we'll go to work at the first of the year. Protect our servicemen, and for the families that's not home, give them the strength to keep going. Amen.
Amen.
Good for you. Shelley, would you do roll call?
Yes, sir. Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Carly Buzzer. Here. Keith Austin. Here. Joe Bird.
Honey.
Julia Evans. Sean Crittenden. Here. Joe Deere.
Honey.
Mike Dobbins. Here. Brandon Duncan.
Honey.
Rex Jordan. Here. Daryl Legg.
Here.
Wes Snowfire.
Honey.
Laura Batkowski. Here. Mary Baker Shaw. Connie. E.O. Smith.
Here.
Denise Taylor. Here. Victoria Vasquez. We have a quorum.
Okay, if you had a chance to approve, and could I have approval of the minutes?
Second.
Have a first and second, Shelley. Roll call it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, reports. Marcia Lamb, are you here? Yes, you are. Human Services Department.
Hey, Marcia.
Human Services would like to wish every one of you a Merry Christmas and hope you get home safely this afternoon. It's kind of getting bad out there. I put on your desk a deal that looks like this. And this is something that, if you don't live in Cherokee County by the complex, you don't really know how you fit in and be recognized. And so this is something that we're doing at our nutrition sites. We are, this is about the fourth one that we've done, and we highlight a cook each month. And we just try to include whatever we can and make them feel a part, how they fit into the Cherokee Nation and be recognized. And I just thought you'd like to see a copy of that. We're in the middle of LIHEAP. We've been taking applications for about a month now. And as soon as we receive notifications of our funding, then we'll start implementing that part of it. But we usually take our applications first, so we already have that by the time the funding comes in. On our elder tree, we've been able to help all of the referrals, and that's some that came in after the fact. I think there was 187, I believe is the total, 186 or 187. And it grows each year. We always get new referrals, and these are for our elder angel trees. That's what I'm talking about. On our, under ICW, we're still buying presents for our children, and last I heard, and we'll start delivery just as soon as we get those, as soon as we do a order, we'll get them out, because we try to get them out before Christmas. And each year it's a good program, and we're able to fill as many requests as we can. I haven't got the latest report on that, but last I heard, I sent them a couple of referrals, late referrals, and they were able to fill that, so I think we'll be able to fill all of it. That's all I really have to report on right now, so I'll open it up to any kind of discussion.
Does anybody have any questions for Marcia or comments?
I have a comment. Before I go to Marcia's questions, I'd like to just bring attention to the staff you know, Gail, Jennifer, Jody, Shelley, Tim, for the outstanding work that they do to make it, you know. They did all the decorating, they're always taking care of us, and, you know, I don't know what we would do without that group. So if you would, I want everyone to know how much we appreciate those people. They really do. Now, Marcia, the question that I have is, I was reading an article about homeless people, about the Supreme Court said, you know, there's really not a whole lot you could do. They are allowed to be in the streets. That's what I was reading. I don't know if that applies to every state or not. Now, my question was, do we have an account, like just Cherokee County, I'll use that for an example. Do we have information from our people that says, yes, we have 50 homeless people and so many of those are Cherokee tribal members? Do they communicate with us on that?
No, I've heard large figures and I've heard small figures, and there's just so many that don't really stop here, or they'll just pass through Tahlequah, or, you know, they won't really stop. So I don't know if any kind of account that you get would really be accurate. I know when the Veterans Center was under Human Services, we tried to get an account just so we'd know how many homeless veterans there was, and never could really get a good handle on that. And if you want to get all of the homeless people, we could try to work with all the organizations, but that, I don't know if it'd really be accurate, Joe.
It's probably difficult to even get a accurate ID on those people, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we could try that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? Yes, Wes?
Just had two quick questions. I know in the past it's been a problem for tribes to get proper funding for our families and guardianship assistance. Where are we getting our money from it now? Is it from the federal government or are we getting it through state? And is it adequate enough?
Our guardianship,
Yeah, funding.
I believe it is, but I can double check with that. I haven't heard that there was any problems, but let me double check on that.
Okay.
That's a good question.
And then the other question was, and you probably have to get with Lou on it, do we have some sort of counseling assistance or something for our foster families? I know it's a lot. Those families deal with kids coming and going, and it can be an emotional taxing thing on those families, and I didn't know if there was...
I believe they do.
They do to help out with them?
I believe they have regular, I don't know if you'd call it counseling, but I believe they have a training before that and then so long after that. But that is something that we can sure look at. You know, Lou's gone. She's on, her husband's critically, or was critically ill, so she's out. So I'm kind of on a standstill, but I can find out from her.
Yeah, and our thoughts and prayers are with her and her husband and her that tough time. But yeah, definitely appreciate it. Those are kind of just the two questions I had, concerns.
Yes.
And appreciate
Okay.
you, Marcia. So thanks a lot.
Anybody else? Theo?
Income guidelines, is there any chance that's gonna change here shortly or anything?
It changes are you talking about the poverty level?
Uh-huh.
It changes every year. Usually right around, I have to ask Gary, didn't that come out about March?
March.
It depends, sometimes March, sometimes June.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there. Yeah, and so as soon as we get them, we change it, because those reflect all of our programs.
Marcia, what is that? What is the number?
What is the number?
Dollar. What's the dollar amount of that poverty level?
Income.
Income, what's the number?
I don't have that on me. I can get it to you, though. Right now, it's, what we do is, on our programs, is we don't use the exact poverty level except on one program, and that's Nahasda. The rest of it will go poverty level plus 10%, or poverty level plus 25. So, but in Nahasda, we have to keep track on that.
Right.
I'll get it to
Okay.
everybody if they want it.
Sure. Is there anybody else? Good report. Have a Merry Christmas, you and your staff.
Thank you.
All right, Community Services, Roads and Transportation, Mr. Michael Lynn.
Good afternoon.
Michael.
I want to wish everybody here a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. You have our monthly report in your packet, but I do want to highlight just a few things. I'll start with the Office of Environmental Health and Engineering. This is something that's in your packet, and hopefully you've taken a look at it, is a sheet that looks something like this, something Billy and his group have started in the past few months called a Service Spotlight. It's something I really enjoy looking at. He just takes a person that they've worked on in their list or their construction list, kind of that they've completed, and kind of gave an idea of or showed everybody what funding sources were used, what services they performed, and how much it cost. And then some factors or challenges that they've had to overcome through that. So this one just happened to be over in Roland this month. It was a septic system that was failing, and they replaced it with a spray irrigation system, aerobic system, I mean. And so anyway, just wanted to point that out. There's also a photo in his report of the water line that was washed out over in Oak Ridge, Adair County. It was a creek crossing, and when we had the floods in the fall, I believe, is when the floods occurred. They washed the water line out. I'm sure you've got some phone calls on that, Councilor Crittenden. That water line now has been repaired, and there's a permanent. It was temporary for a little while, but it has been repaired. I believe it got completed last week. There's also another creek crossing in the same area that the water line's not washed out, but it's exposed now due to that flooding and erosion. And the same contractor is looking at it and going to give Billy and his crew a cost estimate on that to see if that's something we want to tackle, so that it's just more of a preventive issue than an existing problem. Lastly, I want to mention the Southern Delaware County Regional Water Authority water treatment plant ribbon cutting will be held this Wednesday, the 18th at noon. This is a very large project, 12 or 13 million, almost $16 million project. Had about four or five major funding partners on that, all the way from the USDA Rural Development, Indian Health Services, Oklahoma Water Resources, Drinking Water Revolving Fund, and Cherokee Nation. We're all funding partners in this huge project. It's set to serve about 2,500 homes in the southern Delaware County area. We'll be attending that this week. On the transportation side, they're working on gathering data and information for the annual road inventory update. It's a process we go through every year. We'll be coming to you guys, due to the BIA on March 15th, but we'll be coming to you all with a tribal resolution in February that is required by that process. So you'll be seeing that be coming forward in the coming months. And then lastly, Mr. Chair, I want to mention we are keeping an eye out on the next transportation reauthorization bill. The current bill that we're under now is called the FAST Act. It's called, it means Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act. It's set to expire in September of 2020, and it's a 5-year bill. And so we've got things that we're looking at. Our goals that we're shooting for as far as reauthorization goes are increased funding levels. That's something that's pretty typical every reauthorization, but something else that we also want to see is the preservation of the existing funding formulas for both the transportation and the road side as well as the public transit side. We want those formulas to stay the same if possible. And then also looking at a couple of offices that are operated under federal highway program to try to see if they can be reorganized to better benefit the tribe, so that we can work with those federal offices a little more effectively and efficiently. So just wanted to make mention of that, but that's something that we'll probably be hearing more about in the coming months, but it's on the horizon, and we're keeping an eye on it.
Well, we appreciate you keeping us informed, sir.
Bet.
Is there anything else, or?
That is all I have, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to brag on this young man. On Friday, when we had our employee Christmas program, We gave out several, like 63 or 64 prizes. And we actually had a trip that was donated by the travel company that we do business with. And we gave that away to an employee. And the way we gave that away was the first one to text message a phrase to my cell phone number. And so everybody got an equal shot at that was there in attendance. This guy actually won that because he has the fastest fingers in all of Cherokee Nation. But given his role inside the organization, he thought about it over the weekend and called me this morning and gave up a trip that's valued at over $1,900 so that another employee could take advantage of that. So I'd just like to recognize and celebrate
Actually, I had a really difficult time with it over the weekend. On Friday night, and my wife wondered what was going on. I told her what was going on, and she, of course, she was like, "You're going to do what?"
So Todd, where are you going?
Just so you know, I will be spending 4 nights and 3 days. But I do want to share that with you because, you know, Michael's a man of integrity, and so when he stands here in front of you and gives you information, you know that's the kind of character and credibility that he brings forth every time he comes in front of this body. So I just wanted to celebrate and recognize him.
Thank you.
All right.
Good job, Mike.
Harley?
It took him over the weekend to decide that. No, I have to say some good words about Michael. Michael has got the integrity and the foresight to see what's right and what's wrong with the Cherokee Nation and the Cherokee people. So thank you for doing that, Mike. I just want to say, on the spotlight about the sewer stuff, I wish we would do it out on the water line stuff. Those are really expensive projects. I know Billy knows the answers to those things, but those are really expensive projects, and it helps a lot of people. And so, with this going on with the state of Oklahoma right now, I think those are things that we need to know, especially the other tribal council. I know approximately on some of these costs, but I just think it's good information.
I totally agree, and I think those are projects as they become complete. They'll pick somebody or pick a project or an individual participant and highlight those. But I think you'll be seeing some of those in the near future.
And I think the same thing goes for the road projects. Those are expensive projects. But I did notice one thing on the road projects. They weren't quite as detailed as they had been in the past.
Okay.
And I'd like to know what's going on in District 10.
Okay.
Well, if there's anything going on or not, I'd still like to have that report.
Okay.
And the reason I want that is because it gives the director of those programs an insight of what's going on in each council member's district. And I know it's been years since we've had an IR road up in District 10. So I want to say that because you just said inventory is coming up. So
Yes.
I'll be looking at that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Just real quick on top of that, I think it is important that, you know, that we show the state, you know, what we are doing. I mean, we are contributing a lot of money to the state of Oklahoma, and everything that adds up in our districts come to a lot of roads, a lot of pipe, a lot of everything. So that is important to show them what we are doing for the state of Oklahoma.
Agree.
And we appreciate you, you know, for getting that out
Thank you.
to them. Doc?
Thank you, Chair. Michael, what, on your report, you're talking about a potential water project at Forum. You know what that is?
Can you address the potential water line at water station at Forum?
Yeah, they've got a issue down there with the water treatment plant, and they need some additional capacity in their system. And it's basically a system-wide improvements project. We went down and met with the utility operator and the engineer that works for them, just to get the preliminary information and start the process going. So we're just now getting started in that.
Okay.
Also with the folks from Rural Development, they were there also.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Sean?
Yeah, Michael, boy, I appreciate you too. I've been calling him on all sorts of department questions. He's
No problem.
been a class act to me. Billy, thank you for Oak Ridge. That's good work and helped a whole lot of people, and you kept us informed. And got some folks in Bell about ready to get a good update on the Bell Road situation. And if Andy, you're doing that, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
And so just, if not a meeting, a really kind of good update on how that's looking. Thank you.
Just to be clear, Mr. Chair, you say Bell, are you talking about
Where?
the road that goes in front of the school, or?
Well, the Oak Ridge, the
Road?
super
Okay.
highway
That's what
thing.
that's what I thought you were talking about, okay.
We met about it
Yes.
my first term, or my
Okay.
first year.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Okay, do we have any public comments on road issues for Michael while he's here? Any comments on roads? Michael, good report.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas, you and your staff.
Merry Christmas to all of you, thank you.
All right. Housing Services, Gary Cooper. And if you didn't, sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
If you didn't know, several of us went to a housing, some classes. Gary is the chairman of the National American Indian Housing. So he was a keynote speaker at the event, and went really well, learned a lot. And there was some talk about homeless people, and, Joe Deere went to a class on housing the homeless. There could be some things that we might need to look at. I went to a couple of classes on HUD housing and things like that, and some things that work for others, I think, would be difficult for us, and that just wouldn't be a good fit for us. But we may have a few ideas to run in front of Gary that we've seen on some maybe housing for low income or homeless people. So
Yeah.
it's a good conference.
Thank you, and that is one of our most popular conferences, is our annual legal symposium. It's called Legal Symposium, and there's a lot of focus on like attorneys and the legal aspect and things like that. But the biggest part of it is those issues like you just mentioned. There's usually some good breakout sessions on everything from alternative housing to legal stuff to crime and crime prevention to everything, and that is one of our most popular events for the actual housing professionals, the staff who work on our housing programs. They will tell you that they get a lot out of that. Our annual convention is usually in the May-June timeframe, and there's a lot of things that they get from that too, but usually it's a lot bigger, a lot more breakout sessions, covers a lot bigger area, and this is a little bit more focused. And so folks really like that. But thank you for that, and thank you for attending, and it is an annual event. You have my report. I know you've had a long day, so I'm going to keep it as brief as possible. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and hope that y'all enjoy it and have a good time with your family. I do want to mention that if we will start taking college housing assistance applications again, January 2nd through January 17th for the spring semester. So if you had someone who either maybe missed out on the fall, maybe they weren't planning on starting school till the spring semester, or whatever the case is, we do open those back up again.
Second to the what?
2nd to the 17th. So those applications will be available in our offices, will be available on our website, online. The packet has everything in there the student will need, and we'll tell them exactly what they need to bring back from us, what comes from the college, all that good stuff. So once they get on the program for continuing students, theirs is done separately than this. This is for new applications. So just in case you have someone, I did want to bring that up. I think there was just a little shy of 120 that we served this semester. So other than that, I think that's all that I wanted to be sure to mention. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Gary?
I just wanted to comment. First of all, I want to say thanks for getting some of the stuff done in our district really quick, because there's some things that had been put off for a while, which we talked about. And I'm sure the older lady is going to enjoy her ramp now.
It looked really good.
Got her water problem fixed. She's 94?
I think so.
And so I know she's appreciative. I went and sat with her for a while, and that was really good. As far as the housing conference, there is some great pilot projects. The speakers that you had there were very informative, and not only did they talk to us during those times we could talk to them, they sent me emails with more information and answered my questions before I left. So usually it takes a while, but the speakers that I talked to, very informative, with the data. It wasn't just hearsay. It was true stuff. So that's all I have. I mean, great conference. Good job. Thanks for your help.
You bet, no problem.
Anybody else? All right, Gary, good job. Merry
Thank you
Christmas
all.
to you and your staff.
Again, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. I know she's here because I saw her, Anna Knight, Commerce Housing.
Good afternoon.
You have a copy of my report. The only thing I just wanted to add was that we are, right now, we're in the middle of training all of our staff for income tax returns. So that's our next big project. And we're also seeking additional volunteers from the communities. If you have anyone in your community that's interested in volunteering to help prepare income tax, please send them to us. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Does anybody have any questions for Anna? Anna, good job as always. You got off easy. Merry Christmas to you and your staff. Old business, none pending. New business for discussion only. Joe Dia.
Okay, this is the cemetery restoration program for unmarked graves. I gave everybody a piece of paper right here, and you guys remember the piece of paper? I don't know if EO was here, but it was engraved and watermarked and everything with a seal of Cherokee Nation. What this is right here is I went back and got the numbers of 2018-19. It's on your bottom left on money that we did not use in the cemetery preservation. And that right there is what, 60, 61, 62 grand. The book I referenced on the side is the Tyner and Timmons book. It's called Our People and Where They Rest. That book has, I think, 13 different volumes. It was made for the Cherokee Nation by Cherokee citizens on where the graves are on the cemeteries for Cherokee Nation. So that gives us, this little map gives you an idea on where these are verified already. So I just wanted to get you that. If there is unmarked ones that, you know, say somebody came in and said there's one here, but we don't have the data for it, I had Mr. Harsha here just to answer the admin paperwork, what the process would be on that. So it shows we do have the money, but I want to put it out for discussion. I think I've called every one of you that I could reach. I don't think I got a hold of Julia. I think she saw my number and didn't recognize it. Thought I was a telemarketer.
Maybe she did.
Maybe she did, you know. But I think I did reach out to everybody. If I didn't get a hold of you, I think I got a hold of 15. So I'm just putting it out for discussion. I think on my side, I tried to get you as much information for a short amount of time. And that way, if you had questions, I wanted to answer all your questions before we got here. So I'll leave that up to you, Chair, however you want to do it.
Has anybody from the executive branch researched this, Todd?
Well, we've received the proposal, and my sense was the cemetery restoration program has historically been crafted by the council. In fact, I think the last time we modified it, Mr.
Yep.
Speaker, you and I worked on it. So we support it if the council wants to do a pilot project that might be appropriate. It is typically underspent, that budget. This body, the council usually crafts that program and we administer it, but we wouldn't have a problem doing that, given that there's been some underspend, maybe give it a try. So we'll be supportive if the council wants to.
Councilman Baker?
Oh,
Shaw?
thank you. Our people and where they rest, how many volumes and how difficult is it to get these books?
I'm not familiar
You
with
want me to
this.
answer this?
Yeah.
If you know the answer, please.
Yeah. There's about 13 or 14 volumes right now, and Cherokee Nation should have that book on the site because it was made for Cherokee Nation, so it should be here.
I think to have them at the gift shop.
Yeah, so they're readily available, and they also have a digital one because it's used a lot in our work with dealing sites and pipelines and CRM work, cultural resources, stuff like that. The NAGRA person with our TIPO office, Lizzie, should know about it, and so it's easy to access digitally on whatever
cemetery you want to go to in Oklahoma. 9 months ago, they just did a cemetery location through the state to find the cemeteries, and they just keep updating it.
So they would only be restricted to Oklahoma?
No, it's all Cherokees.
All Cherokees?
Yeah.
I like that.
Councilman
And the
Legg?
book goes to the
Yes.
early 1800s.
So whenever I brought this to council originally about the headstones, it was for those Cherokees that were over income, that still could not meet the income guidelines, but still needed assistance with headstones. These weren't gonna be elaborate, they were gonna be simple.
Yeah.
And then you had a vendor that could actually do for a really good low cost.
Yeah, it was $175.
Yeah, for a headstone, and that don't mean we have to force it on them. That just means, hey, if you don't feel like spending 12 grand or 1,200 on a headstone, and you're a Cherokee citizen and you want one of these for 175, it's an option for you. I like your idea also about maybe going back and fixing some of these old that are unidentified graves.
Yeah.
But I don't want us to lose focus on the original intent of, man, providing headstones for our Cherokee folks that really
Yeah.
probably couldn't afford it, you know? And maybe we ought to do X amount per year.
Yeah, however,
You know,
I mean, that's why it's open.
But those are, I like the idea for sure.
Yeah, I think one of our biggest, or one of my biggest complaints is that the nation doesn't quite pay enough for a funeral. But seems like most of them that get taken care of, they don't have to pay anything. So I don't know if the guidelines, that people just don't make the guidelines and are upset, or what, and the income guidelines, but it seems like Marsha and her crew do a pretty good job of trying to get assistance where they can for, for funerals. We've had good luck with that, I think. They've done a good job with it.
Yeah, it was sort of more different because we're talking about unmarked graves.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I was just getting off subject a little bit.
I'm sorry, I was going to ask a question for clarification, because it was somewhat our understanding that this was more from a historic preservation piece of trying to fix those to unmarked graves or historic pieces, rather than addressing current needs of tribal citizens. It was more for historic preservation.
Well, I think that
just
was,
want to make sure we're all on the same
yeah,
page.
I think that was discussed last month about the gentleman who was going to charge $100 and something bucks for the headstones, and we all thought that was a good idea. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I think we find it cheaper anywhere else, but yeah, this is a different deal.
Okay.
Sorry.
It is a good deal. A couple of years ago, someone from the Washington County group came here somewhere in Tahlequah, and they, I believe through CCO, did a class and taught them how to go out, because we have like 5 cemeteries in our area that we care for, but they did this class on how to repair these old tombstones. So you may check with Kevin about, some classes.
And I do think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the money that we get for the cemeteries is basically for upkeep, like mowing and things like that, and so this would have to be something a little different. Councilwoman Taylor?
Start to finish, do we have an idea of what it will cost per grave to mark? Because I'm assuming, okay, $175 for the headstone, got that. I'm assuming we are going to provide labor to put it up, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, it's really not too labor intensive as far as that, but yeah, cost wise, I mean, it depends. If you have somebody working on the cemetery and that's sort of what they're doing, they're there, you literally take one bag of Quikrete and you have a little thing of 2x4s and you put the Quikrete in, you mix it in a little bucket, you throw it in, you just press it on it, wait 2 days, pull the wood off, and it's basically a preformed deal. So they could do that as many times as they wanted to. So a bag of concrete, you're looking at $650. I mean, and it's probably going to take him 20 minutes, unless he just doesn't know how to stir.
Okay, do we have any idea how many unmarked graves there might be? I mean, it's probably thousands.
And it could be, that's why I leave it to the NAGPRA, because I was saying with the unmarked, we got to start somewhere.
Right.
And with that book, it goes early 1800s. And so we do have people in these communities, you know, smaller communities that they know their cemetery, they know there's people there. Well, this data just verifies what they're saying. So we're just not putting somewhere where somebody hearsay.
Right.
So, and that's what it is. And why I brought Mr. Harsha in is in case there is something, somebody does go under that, maybe they do have something that they miss with the state archaeologist that they have that verifies, because a lot of these times there's also, I didn't go into detail of this, but if you click on one of those online, it literally will show a picture in 1800 where they had something marked, like the tree is 3 steps
Well,
to your
sometimes
left.
it's just a rock.
Yeah, sometimes it's a
Probably
rock,
hadn't
but
had
it will
anything on
identify it
but-
completely, what, back in the old days where it was exactly. So that's why we're not just putting stuff out there to be putting stuff out there. It's gonna be legitimate Cherokees that are unmarked. So I think what he's leading on to is people with not burial assistance, but if they needed a headstone,
Right.
I'm sure the guy could just, they could say, hey, you can go buy one from this guy. But the unmarked graves is where I'm sort of wanting to protect, to get that. That's where I'm focusing on, and finding the money from there to do that. So, and for a minute cost.
And so I would be, I'm 100% for this. I would like to see a systematic approach to it.
Yeah.
Where maybe we take this cemetery this year, X number of dollars, whatever. Because we have done this personally within our family, taking up a collection to erect a stone, because people are more and more interested in their genealogy, and, you can tell them, okay, they're buried right there.
Yeah.
And so I'm 100% for it. I would like to see a systematic approach. And
Yeah, that's sort of where the volumes, I think, are gonna come in. Like volume 1 is the oldest part of it.
Yeah.
And it'll show you the location on 1830 or 1820 where that one is. And so, I'll get with Chad, Mr. Harsha, about it, and maybe there is a different, easier way to do it, or maybe we do it by location. It just sort of depends. There's several ways we can jump around and figure it out. But you're right, there has to be a process. It can't just be randomly throwing stuff out there. Maybe we know somebody, or somebody knows an old cemetery that we know for a fact. I say Grass Cemetery because that's our family cemetery in Salina. There's stuff there where, my uncles are buried next to a tree and there's rock.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's stuff like that. Those are things I know, but, it's not going to be about me. It's more about starting with the older one. Let's get those caught up and then move forward there. And I'm not saying we can do them all in a year. I can't say we do them all in 50 years.
Yeah.
But I say if
Gotta
we.
start somewhere.
Yeah, because if our job as an oath is to protect our culture and work with that, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at with it. Great questions. I don't have all the answers. Process is definitely a question. I don't know how we even start, so.
And I appreciate you, bringing awareness to this issue, and this is not a program that I'm familiar with in much detail, but I'll certainly take this back and look and see what we can do from a tribal historic preservation standpoint to make a better use of this money. Obviously, if money's going unspent and returned back to federal funding sources, that's something that we certainly try to prevent. So I'll take this back and try to see if I can get a better handle of what we're currently doing and where the gaps are, and get back with you in this body on a proposal that maybe we can find that works for everyone.
Chad, maybe we could do this where each council member has the discretion of where they'd like to spend money and allocate so much money to each district, like we do in some of our other programs. Start it that way, that if you don't spend all of yours in one area, maybe you can give it to your neighboring council member.
Sure, I think we can absolutely put together a number of different proposals and whatever the pleasure of the body.
Okay, just a thought, Mr. Chair.
It's so
Councilman
legit.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Councilman Nofire?
Just the unused cemetery preservation numbers that you had the money, is that a revolving
That's what
account, or is it that if we don't use that money, it dies out?
That'd be a Jody question.
Jody! Well, I guess I can get with him.
So basically, we want to know if this rolls over.
Yeah.
Right, if this money's been rolling over and sitting somewhere, or if is it just something that dies out if we don't use it? It's money that needs to be spent.
Jody, are you listening? Yep, here he
Here
comes.
he comes.
Well, Jody will say roll over. That's been what he's been conditioned to say, like a compact.
There's about a 4 or 5 second delay on me watching you guys. That's just regular gen fund funding, so whatever's not used just rolls back into the general fund carryover. There you go.
Okay. All right,
It's
well,
not retained or anything in
That
that.
might be something to look at, is a certain percentage of it at the end of each year. We use it back through each counseling district, like you mentioned. I think it's a great place to start looking at this. A great
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah. Go in numbers, man. I mean,
And I think what's important too is you have to realize how you got there in the first place. You know, so it's going to have to incorporate a little bit of the old and a little bit of the new, because you don't want, you want to have a little bit for the people who can't afford it now, so you won't
Absolutely.
get into the same, you know, situation that you're getting into from people not being able to afford it back in the day. You know, so if there needs to be a blend of it, and I think if it would be nice to do that. So, Councilman Legg, you have any? Did you still have something, Darrell?
No.
Good.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. I guess that's it for our new business. On announcements, Chief, do you have an announcement for us, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it. On the 22nd of January, the Brackeen case, the ICW case, will be heard in the Fifth Circuit. As you know, we're advocating, obviously, for the sustaining the original decision that ICW is constitutional. We're going to invite all council members, if you can, to go there to see the oral arguments if you'd like. We'll get information to you all about travel arrangements and more specific dates and times. But I want to make sure you are aware that we want to make an effort to go up there and show moral support for the
Thank you, sir. Is there any more announcements? I would just like to tell you, I'll be gone tomorrow, so I'm going to miss the party. But I'm going to watch my son graduate, so
There you go.
I'm going to do that. But
We'll save you some smoked bologna or something.
just put it on my desk. But
I didn't get it, January.
I didn't mean that. Don't put it on.
can we pick something else to give him?
Yeah. But all right. Hey, it's been a good day. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All right. So be it.
Really great.